Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Vincent and this is a little this and that Octane compared to Redshift Domestika bonus video. Well, first of all, I started with my 3D career with Octane and I think like 4 years ago I switched to Redshift, and at that time the switch was kind of obvious. You had to do it because Octane was so buggy. At this time it crashed like 1,000 times a day. But the time went by and I heard people talking good things about Octane again, and I wanted to test myself. Especially I wanted to test the subsurface scattering random work. And in this video I will compare the two render engines, plus we will talk about, well, I opened the scene which I created in my Domestika course. We rendered it there with Redshift, but in this course I want to recreate the style a little bit with Octane and again compare the two renderer while I'm doing these designs. So I hope this is something for you, and let's get directly started. These are actually a few images from the project, and the course contains a lot of different elements. You can especially learn how to do soft bodies. There's some rendering, some lights, and lots of this and that. So if you are into this, let's also have a look on the video. And this was actually the first version which I did as a test run for my course. And there's also a video, and also sounds are from Jürgen Branz again. So, well, actually this was the failed one where the bevel deformer is kind of killing this guy. So without the bevel deformer here and without flickering, yeah, this project was really a lot of fun, and I enjoyed working on it. Also because I love ramen. But the thing is, what I wanted to say, I get this link from Domestika, and if you go into the course and watch it from this link, I get even 80% paid by them compared to 20, 10, I don't know, not much. But if you really support me, or if you want to support me, click the link and get the course from there. So enough advertising here, let's get started. I have this scene open and I thought it would be, well, at least a little bit interesting to not post like 3 times the same video. So at least I will select all my objects and will spin it around, I don't know, by 60, 70, 80 degrees. I don't know, it's a bit snappy here. Let's say something like that, and let's play the video and see. The cool thing about it's not so cool. Is it the mouse? Weird. The cool thing about this, everything is baked, mostly as alembics. I think everything is baked as alembics. Let's have a quick look onto the scene, which you could then do your own. Well, actually everything is baked as alembics. And I really like that too. Yeah, it's just safe. Nothing explodes, gets lost, or I don't know. Love alembics. So let's see how the animation here looks. And this is actually the stuff from the other side, and I also think it looks nice. We have some cool squishiness, and yeah, simulation is quite good. Then I already deleted all Redshift stuff, all the materials and the tags. And I created already a Octane workspace for myself. And I have to say, I watched a few tutorials and played around for like 2 to 3 hours to be able to get a bit back in Octane. I still have a few questions, but I mostly understand everything. But I'm telling you, when I was starting, there were so little things like, I don't know, this on the left ended like here. And also materials, there were only diffuse, glossy. Was it already spec? Yeah, I think these 3 were only spec, glossy, and diffuse, and all the rest is new for me. So yeah, let's see. Let's put up the IPR and see what we got. Yeah, I worked already on a few materials, but yeah, we'll go through that. Let's see. First things first. That's pretty weird that the frame is rendering the whole frame. And that's what I really love about Redshift. It really only renders the right aspect ratio or the right frame. And I didn't know how to not render these parts because I only want to render the stuff which is actually in the final image. Because right now I can't really judge how the composition is, how everything feels if I see so much. And there is this lock, and when I lock it, it's kind of doing what I want. No, it wasn't locked. Wait, yeah, the thing is, I'm recording in another resolution, so it's not that tiny for you. And before that, you can see a difference. Before that, sorry, let's just change the resolution. So I have a resolution of 4x5, which is the usual Instagram format, and I have 1080 by 1350. Usually I render at 1536 to 1920, and this is a pretty good resolution for myself. But if I have this resolution, the frame is way too big. So I don't know, let's try 500. And if I'll put the lock on now, it's a bit too small, 600. Lock off, lock on. Wait, it jumped. Still too small, let's say 750. And yeah, now we have like a selection of the frame, and I only render the parts which will be visible in the final composition. And I just have to think about that. In the end, I need to change the resolution again to the final output. Also, I can see the render is still Redshift. Let's switch it to Octane. Let's continue. Well, this was at first, I would say, little plus side for Redshift. Then what was really nice, this tool works really fast. The region, I have the feeling that Redshift really is lagging this, especially in Redshift. I have the material picker tool kind of selected, and then it's always picking the material, and then it's making the render region. So this is pretty nice here. Also, the stuff is still available. You can select the material, you can pick the focus. And that was actually also a bit weird. Now it's loading, but sometimes the materials are not loading. I need to double click them, like open them, and then node editor, and then they start to load, which is a bit weird. I kind of have the feeling that Redshift is sometimes, Octane is sometimes a little bit buggy, doing weird stuff. I had some strange things happening with displacement. And talking of which, displacement, there is a huge plus for Redshift and a plus for Octane. Let's try to work on a material. Let's say this guy here, and well, actually before we work that, I will keep the displacement in my head. We just perhaps have a quick look onto our light setup. I tried to roughly recreate the settings from Redshift. So I have a very big softbox from the right side, and let's make the lights off so you can see what's happening. And that's also a bit weird. Why is it so bright when it looks like there's nearly no difference? I think there was the thing with a default setting. I remember that the default setting for Redshift was a gray environment. If you had the gray environment, there was always light scattering around, and obviously I don't want that. Environment, default environment color, that's the guy. Obviously I want that black. And we had issues with that back then when we were working with artists, or if I was just working with myself, open another scene, and then I was like, why is it so bright? And yeah, so dark background is really great for me, so I can really see what I'm doing with each light. And now it doesn't look weird anymore, and this is the light what we get there. We have a big light from the right, so the shadows are quite soft, an overall nice tone. And actually, if I look at the image now, the shadows could be even softer, and the bigger the softbox, the softer the shadows. So I'm scaling this box a bit up, and now we need to reduce the intensity a little bit, something like 3.5. So this was my first light, which was also Redshift light, and I love to work with a big main light. Then I used another softbox, and this is a tiny one, and I need a tiny softbox to emphasize the materials. Let's have a look back onto the rendering, and you can see that on the left there's also a small light, and with that the materials get pretty sharp. If you only have soft light everywhere, sometimes the materials, they do feel quite soft, like too soft. And especially here you can see that there's a pin light on the left, and it gives us some details and some sharpness. And that's what I did with the light on the left. So we get these harsh shadows, and later on the materials we get something interesting. Also, you can already see on this guy down here, we get some sparks. And then I just need a dome light to fill the grays and to give everything like a little bit of a saturation into the scene. So you just need to load an image in there, and there it is. And here is another point for Redshift. I really love that Redshift has this slider to adjust the hue and saturation for the HDRI. And because sometimes they are too vivid, too colorful, and then the lights are too crazy. And yeah, this is really nice. I don't know how to do it in Octane. Also, the thing is, when I'm saying this is bad about Octane, it might be that they already changed it over the time, and I don't know it yet. So definitely also let me know in the comments if you are, probably you know more than me, but I'm trying to give my insights here. So yeah, this was a big bonus for Redshift. And now we had quite some talking, but I wanted to talk about displacement in the first place. And I also created another camera to better, oh, we copied both of the tag. Actually, I don't need the target tag, but I need an Octane tag. Forgot that. So we need a camera tag, camera Octane tags. And I quickly need to restart Cinema because I changed the resolution after I opened the program, and now everything is screwed. See you in a second. So we are back, and I'm loading the IPR, and just also a quick thing, IPR is really fast. That's a big bonus for Octane. It's just, yeah, you can feel, you just move the camera and it's really instantly updating, and Redshift is always like calculating and thinking something, I don't know what, RTX needs to load, card needs to load, therefore Redshift loses 1 point. Snappiness, Octane wins. So camera tag for these guys, and let's see, Octane tag, camera tag. And that was also pretty interesting or nice to actually see motion blur in your render, because I used Redshift so long, and then Redshift you see the motion blur only in the end. That this is kind of weird or interesting. I'm not sure if I have to see the motion blur at the current frame. It's nice to be able to see that, but I don't have to. But for now, let's turn it on. And there was this shutter thing, I forgot it. Something 1530.1513785, I don't know. 1375. Something was the actual shutter of a realistic camera was some value like that, but obviously I have to look that up again. And this was probably not right because we have so much motion blur. Perhaps there was another 0. And yeah, in this case, it's nice to see this motion blur. So it was 0.0138138. Could be. I will have to look that up. So for now, turn it off. And yeah, we will leave everything like it is for now because I don't know too much about it. I really forgot it. I also need to figure out how to do the ACES workflow in Octane. Didn't look about that. And let's continue on the stuff which I know. So it's not that boring for you. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this guy. Still, I didn't talk about displacement. Sorry, my head is a bit in a mess these days. Yeah, let's try to focus. Like now, this is the thing what I meant. When I double click on the material, it's not loading on the node editor. I have to click get active material. That's a bit weird. I don't know. So displacement. It feels very fast, I have to say. Like you just change a value and it's there. It renders fast, and I have the feeling that Redshift has to calculate more when you work with stuff here. And I mean, we're in 4K, that's pretty good. We can also go for 8K, which is crazy. Obviously the material is not resolution enough, but now you can see it was fast. So 4K isn't enough. Then mid-level is the same as the values from the Redshift remap, which is always 0 to 1, and then you have to remap the values. It's the same with the height level, and it's like super quick. You can just eyeball this and see where your object has the right values, so that it's not too much inflating, so it stays overall in the same scale. I'll go with 0.1. Also my height is just 1 was enough. And yeah, let's say we are pretty happy with this displacement. Then you can see that I'm using these yellow flakes, and I thought it would be super nice to also displace these yellow flakes. And these yellow flakes are the material mask. These are these guys. So I thought, let's check for a displacement blend. So, which is also cool. In Octane, you can also press Shift-C and search something in here. And there is vertex displacement mixer blend weight. Yeah, perhaps that works, because I couldn't blend, like get more displacements than one. And let's see if this guy solves our issues here. So let's go for this guy and let's connect this guy to the displacement. And let's tone it down. So 0.1, still way too much, 0.05. And now we have too much of a mid value, so we get some black areas. And no. Another plus point for Redshift, you can have a negative height. And you see what I mean. Let's make it 1, crank it back to 4K. That's way too much, 0.5. And I want the opposite of this displacement. I want the yellow parts to go out and not to go in. So that would be easy to do this here, or we could just use a gradient. And let's place this in front of the node. So gradient, Octane gradient. Also, by the way, the UI, there's a huge win for Octane. This is so way nicer. It's a bit snappy. Well, it just feels better to work in this node editor than in the old Espresso guy. So, gradient to displacement, and it's gone. And it's weird. We want to swap the colors, so the displacement is the other way around, but nothing happens. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening? And you actually need to bake down your texture. And there's something with bake, so I don't know where it is, but let's just baking texture. We need to put this node in between, and then the texture needs to go into the displacement. And now it's doing the thing what I want. So we need to crank up the resolution to the one from above, which is 4K. And now we play around with the displacement. It's way too much, and perhaps a little bit of the mid-level. And we're starting somewhere. So this texture baking is, I don't know how much performance it takes. If it's getting too much slow, it still feels quite alright. I thought it would get slower. Filter type, 4K. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens if this thing works to blend two different displacements together, and just also in case I will save. And now there is 0 displacement, vertex displacement, is it? Texture vertex displacement, do I need to? So nothing is happening. Perhaps. Actually, this is then probably only the bump, the auto bump. Auto bump's always good. That's also in Redshift pretty nice. But I think it doesn't work like that. but it's not a vector because it's a height. Perhaps we need some other maps and or other tricks. Let me know if you know how that works. But anyway, I kinda gave you the solution to this displacement problem anyways. It's just the baking texture. So we will delete the vertex displacement and connect the displacement again. And now we need a multiply. And here's another point for Redshift. You can only multiply two things together, and this is actually only multiply if you want to switch it to add, or if you want to combine different modes, then you have to combine different of these guys. And in Redshift you can do this all in one place, which is pretty nice. But do we actually want to multiply them or do we want to add them? I think I want to add them. So the displacement coming from this guy, the gradient, goes into material number 1, and the original displacement, and now it gets a bit messy here, was this guy. No wait, this guy. No wait, we're in the bake. This one. This one it was. Texture 2, and now we need to select add and put the add into the bake, and I hope you won't lose the overview here. So baking, displacement. And now we are displacing both the yellow dots and the other material as well. It's still fast and nice. Then let's try to solo the material, and the solo stuff is kind of weird. You have to press D on the keyboard, which is not nice, and in this case it works very well. But then I press D, I mean it's, look, there's this weird thingy, and now it's snapping back. That's worked, but for other things it kind of didn't work. And you can see it has weird, it's doing weird things. Sometimes the color is going through, then I don't know what about the other things. And if I try to press D on the multiply, then, and now it works. Now it's, yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird. I don't like it this much. I think the Redshift connect to output is nicer. But at least this is happening now in Octane, which is great, because that wasn't existing when I was using Octane. So then also overall, I think the displacement is still too much. We have a little bit weird stepping here, and perhaps also we can decrease the contrast so the stepping of the displacement won't be that strong now. These areas are looking a bit better, and now we can give it even a bit more displacement, so it's looking interestingly. And then about the material itself, I'm using the, how's it called these days here, Octane material. It was a layered or composite material. I don't know. Materials, create layered materials. There's a base material and a layer 1. I think I did not use this one. I used the other one. Material, create composite material. And with the composite material you can do material 1 and 2 and material 1 mask. That kind of doesn't make sense. If you want to blend two materials together, why do you need two masks? Another question, perhaps you know that, but in general, I also like the flow of Redshift way more, that one material is just one thing here, that you don't have the mixed materials all lying around, and in the end you don't know which material belongs to which, and then you change one and all of them changes, and or you delete the wrong one. And yeah, I like this Redshift working style way more. So you add one material, two materials, and then, I don't know, let's make this like pretty plain. Also, another Redshift bonus, I thought this thingy is not that nice. it was very unsnappy, and I don't know, the color picking in Redshift is a little bit nicer. Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, I created 2 materials, and let's say we want to blend them together with a maxon noise, and it's called Noise 4D. And another point for Cinema 4D, of course, because they bought Redshift, their integration for their own shader is probably better, because a lot of stuff is missing here. And especially the colors, like black and white, you can choose the shader. That was a bit sad, but you can plug it into a ramp and then remap the colors. So let's press D to preview. And now that's kind of weird. I mean, I didn't apply the material yet, which was my fault. But why did he make a preview here? And also now, why doesn't he preview the noise? It's just blue. Yeah, I had the feeling that the noise and the preview is a bit buggy. Now it works better. Also, which is missing, that we don't have the contrast slider here. Or is noise 4D and not the cinema noise? Let's see if there's another noise. No, it is the cinema noise. There's Octane noise. Yeah, this is the one I know from back in the days. So this is the cinema noise. You have all the access to this ones, which is nice, but yeah, interesting stuff is missing. So you would have to have a Octane gradient to be able to adjust the colors and the contrast. Let's put that in and let's plug that as a material mask. Weird. That's the thing what I meant. Why would you need a material 1 mask? I mean, the mask only makes sense in material 2. Yeah, someone could perhaps tell me that. Gradient, here you can adjust the contrast. And then, for example, you can have a super sharp noise in between these two. And I like the Salvor noise. And would be also nice to have the clipping here to adjust the radius of the cell, actually. And it was number 2, my favorite, to get the circles. Yeah, this looks also nice. You can see that I wasn't working very well with the UVs on this side. They are super stretched on this, also on these ones. So, not the best UV work here. And let's see, some colors. Yeah, could be something. Okay, then let's recreate a material. Obviously, we will not use this, or we will work later on with this one. And for now, let's just put it somewhere, because I think this guy can be used like that. And actually, did I finish the material? No, I didn't. Yet another thing, you double click, but it's not loading. The star. So I have these 2 materials like I showed you, and then I'm blending them together. And the second material is just a metallic material. And that's why we have these little metallic flakes, which I think is a nice detail on top of everything. So let's have a look onto the most coolest thing in Octane. And it's the random box scattering. You can already see the guy here, but I'll try to find a frame which is looking good. And you can see it's pretty fast. Again, huge plus for Octane. You move the camera and you just see stuff so quickly. I will duplicate this guy for now, put it out of my hierarchy, and actually there's a null in there. Why is there a null? I will move it up. And the weird thing with alembics, you can't move them. I never understood why it's not working. You have to press C on your keyboard to convert the alembic, and then you can move it, but sometimes it's not moving. sometimes moving and then you go back to frame 0 and it snaps again to the place where it has been, like now. Also, you can see something's really off with the null. Oh wait, this was everything. I only need this guy. Let's try to find a frame where we don't have too much distortion. And I want to look against the light, so we have some sort of rim light happening here. Let's see. First of all, we need an Octane tag, because we don't have enough subdivisions here, because it's a soft body simulation. You have to work on a low res mesh. And I have a tag already here, but let's also do that again. So Octane tags, subdivision. And you can see already one subdivision makes everything super nice, and two even more. And subdivision sharpness, let's play around with that. I don't know what. That's super nice. Another plus for Octane. Because I really sometimes would wish this would exist in Redshift. I'm trying to fake this stuff with the bevel deformer often. Give myself another bevel edge so the smoothing for the subdivisions levels is not that soft. But the bevel deformer is a little, let's say, unfriendly, and we have these jittery effects like in the beginning. So yeah, as I said, this happens because of the bevel. And yeah, I had so many weird things with animation and bevel, like shooting particle thing and spikes, and one frame it looks just like one frame in the animation is totally fucked. So therefore this thing is pretty nice to be able to adjust the sharpness, but I think I will want to have it pretty soft. There's a little bit of sharpening here. And let's see what we did there. First of all, I mean, this looks already like super nice. The scattering is so nice. Let's turn it around a little bit. This is the material itself. It's actually quite simple. And let's do it again, because there were a few things which I didn't know and you have to know. So we need to create another material, and for this time I use the universal material. I think this is anyway the closest to Redshift. And let's apply it to our star. Yeah, another, why is it not loading automatically here? And why is this still yellow? It's supposed to be white. Okay, you drag it again and then it works. Still quirky weirdness in Octane, doing random stuff. Exactly. So the things we had to know, I had to know. I didn't know the albedo needs to be black. Then you can go to the medium and just create a random walk. Then we need to go to transmission, and I want to have a specular transmission. And there was one last thing. Maybe the transmission had to be 1. I think it was, yeah, transmission has to be 1 as well, the float value. And now we can create some colors, and it was called RGB, right? Yeah, not ABS, RGB. So we create 2 different material colors, and the first color is the top layer, kind of, which gets refracted. Well, I mean the outer shell of the material has this color, and that's pretty nice because it's so intuitive. You don't have to do the opposite stuff, and then, I don't know, hope for it that you did the right thing. I always did the wrong scatter thing. I always had to play around, never knew how it works. So the inner part is you can see here is the bottom, and the top one is the outer one, which is nice. So let's make this a bit brighter perhaps. And I mean, this looks already super nice. I didn't do anything, and yeah. Density. We can play around with scale. So the lower you go, the more glassy it gets. And let's drag the material up. And the slider is not that sensitive as I'm used to these sliders when they changed it. So let's try to always double our value, 10, 20, 40, 80 and so on. And you can see this is kind of nice, but I like it a bit more dense. So these areas are nice. Then what I did with the specular, you can go with the diffuse, so it's a bit more milky, less glossy. So you can see the difference between these two. And from here on, you just have to plug and play all your maps, the usual ones which are default, normals, bumps, roughness, and so on. And I won't do this here. I will just duplicate the same ones here. I mean, there are not that many, but I'm lazy. So anyway, this is your part, your free creation, what you want to plug in there. Oh, and now it's kind of stuck. Oh no. And I didn't save. Classical. The PC is getting quiet. It's also not a good sign. And oh, now I can move stuff again. Perhaps we are not lost. We are not lost. We are still there. Let's save. And let's plug in the stuff. So I have a normal map and another normal map, and I will multiply them together. And let's connect that to the normal. And I would say a quick plus for Octane. This is really straightforward. Just bam, in. No bump, no adjustment, no raw input, no blah, 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 blah. It's way easier. And I think in general, this is the big difference. Octane is really easy. It's fast, simple, easy. But I would say Redshift is a bit more production ready and more, it's better for teamwork and for bigger things, I would say. But I mean, look at this guy. I didn't do much and it looks super nice. Let's plug in the roughness as well. And nice, nice, nice. These are the normals. They're quite intense. I overshoot the power. They're over 3 and 5. And let's make it really intense, like 25. You can see this intense area start to crank up. Let's go back to 5 or 7. 7 is good. We get a little bit of surface imperfection. And with scattering in Octane, it's very difficult to get like a diffuse, these imperfections on the surface. It's really hard. And we didn't even play around with the diffuse color. Let's see how that works as well. And anyway, for these abstract, weird materials, I like to use my texture pack as well. And I don't know, just see if we can find some weird, this is some weird, funny color. Let's see what will happen if we will plug this to different inputs. First of all, let's see albedo. I changed it to black in the first place, so we have a lot of scattering. If the material is bright, there is little scattering. Right now there is nearly none. So perhaps we can work with a color correction. How's it called? Correction? Color correction. Let's see what happens if we put it in here, and the color correction, we want it dark. And let's press D on the keyboard to see what we're doing there. Let's put up the gamma again and the contrast also a little bit. And exposure. Yeah, let's see. It's a bit hard to tell now because it's just a level of detail, but I think there are some spots from the material itself. Let's see, for example, what happens if we plug that into our radius, the second one. So now you can also see the diffuse color in the scattering in there, especially in the thin area here. And I like it. Perhaps at this point we can even put the normals back up and increase the intensity. And I don't know, let's play just a bit with the colors, see how it will change. If we go with more lighter colors, this is nice. What happens if we go darker here? Also super interesting. But I think I like the bright one here, and yeah, it's so fast, it's really nice. And yeah, here for example, on the edge you see the material which I plugged in here, the pink one here. You can see the spots and dots. I mean, that's why I got Octane. I'm really like positively happy. Look at this, how cool it is. I mean, it's not complex, but it looks so complex. So many details already. Oh, nice. And we don't have any displacement yet. Let's see what happens if we will throw in some displacement as well. And this material doesn't have a displacement, it's all black, nothing is happening. What happens if we really put in a geometric pattern, just some dots? And let's connect that to the displacement, and displacement goes into the displacement. And we want to change the values, obviously. Save from time to time. 0.5 and 4K. 0.1 and I think this can even be a bit smaller. We can now use the UV transform and scale that down by 50%. I mean, it's also something, but before it was cooler. Let's see if we just throw in a very subtle displacement material. So some kind of dirt thing from the materials I made here. Let's see. Perhaps this is too subtle. Something. The yoga matte. I love the yoga matte. I will just throw the roughness map into the displacement field, and you can see that we need some mid-level here. Where did it? And displacement is, yeah, it's something, but I think it's too rough. There's too much texture detail happening. Let's try one last thing, and perhaps what I said, like a really clean one, just some pieces of debris and a few of my hairs. And I think this would perhaps give us a little bit of interesting displacement here. And we don't need this much mid-level here. And let's zoom out the camera a bit. There's a face, a little smiley on the left top part. And yeah, this looks definitely pretty nice. Then let's see if we can use this material in our overall composition. Because it's a bit grungy and dirty, it doesn't fit too well perhaps into this scene. But let's see, perhaps on the carrot. And also I will delete this guy again because we don't need it anymore. And now you can also move the Wait, because, no. No, on the carrot it's not that nice. Let's see what else. Perhaps on the tofu squishy. For the tofu, I would say let's make it more white and perhaps more like a bluish color. Nah. Perhaps it also doesn't need to have so much scattered depth or more. How was it? Wait, if you go with a lower value? No. I want a higher value. Yeah, I want a bit of a higher value so it's not that translucent. And I would say, why not? It's definitely an interesting squishy squish here. And yeah, I could continue here. It will definitely take a while to texture everything because actually my design was quite detailed. A lot of material details, like also here and everywhere, but yeah, I think it would get tiring. How long did I record? A while. Let's see what else. Rendering. I didn't talk about that, and I remembered these values. Like, you didn't need too many samples, and 8 was also a good value. You could clamp your GI, and the adaptive sampling was new when I stopped working with Octane. This helps to speed up the render. And yeah, I mean, there are probably better render videos, but I'm anyway using Path Tracer here and need to get into some of the values which are new. The denoiser could be interesting. There's an AI upsampler. This could be nice. OCIO, there it is. But frost tone mapping. There's still much to learn for me, but I would say at this point, let's end this video, and I hope you learned something. And yeah, I would summarize this. I definitely want to implement Octane again in my workflow, especially for like smaller projects or my daily 3D renderings. I think therefore it could be really nice. But if you work in a team or with bigger productions, at this point I would still recommend a Redshift. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a great time and see you. Bye bye.